Hello, Amber. How you doing? Let's just jump right over your typeface here. I've been looking forward to seeing this, and wow, I'm certainly not disappointed. You've done a really wonderful job. I think the organic nature of the strokes, I think, really loans themselves well to the meaning, the encoded meaning based on the giving tree, the actual tree itself. So I was really fascinated. I have been with your concept development here since way back in week two when I realized the direction you were going. So kudos to you. Really, really good job. One of my concerns that I was uh, going to address here was the fact that it just seems like the relationship, the size relationship, excuse me, of the lowercase character set in comparison to the uppercase character set, I think is a little drastic. In other words, I think that these are too small. I think the lowercase letter forms are just too small in comparison to the uppercase counterparts. However, in your typeset, I see you've addressed that. So this isn't necessarily a realistic depiction of how these will work with these, right? In your presentation, you definitely want to establish that relationship. Okay, so right now, if somebody looks at this, and be sure, I don't think we won't have another chance to do this for presentation now because everything else now is going to be employing the work in your typeface. I think actually, though, I think there is one more chance to present the alphabetical character sets. So just make sure that you establish the correct relationship. So so that these lowercase letters display the scale variations and the comparisons, the spatial relationship of scale from the lowercase to the uppercase letter. That's pretty important. But you understand that, but we're just not employing it here in this particular presentation of the typeface. Uppercase looks fantastic. Lowercase looks fantastic. Good job. And then the numeric character set looks fantastic. Really nice job there. I do want to, I'm going to zoom in here really close because there's something I want to see. Okay, so these are based on, these are based on the tittle, right? I think that's the same, the dot below the question mark and the oh, by the way, it looks like the explanation could use a thicker stroke. We can clearly see it here in comparison to the question mark. I want to increase that stroke size a little bit. So good job repeating that shape for the dots under the question mark and the exclamation point, the colon. There's two areas. I'm not sure if that's a semicolon, right? So, and is that a comma? So I would go ahead and right now those seem a little too geometric. I would go ahead and shoot for a more of an organic feel with these. And these are definitely geometric. So I would, you've got a lot of inconsistencies in the letter forms up in the lower and uppercase letters. Character sets, and I think that that's the charm of the typeset of the typeface. So I would recommend trying to preserve that through the typographic, specifically. Let me see here, right here, through these quote marks and that colon and the comma. I'm sorry, semicolon and the comma. Okay, let's jump over here to the typeset. Looks great and wow, it's great. It looks fantastic in uppercase, looks fantastic in lowercase. A couple of areas I'm seeing here. I think that your strokes are varying. I really do. If you take a look at the the horizontal bars, you can see that there's quite a bit of difference in the thickness of the stroke weight there and here, or there and here. Right there, that's a really thin stroke weight right there. You may consider increasing that a little bit. Again, get in there and check. I mean, really get on top of that and check. Zoom in right on top of those letter forms. Could be a PDF rendering, which quite often happens. So, good job. Now, what if you're asking yourself the reasoning behind this? The reason we're actually setting words using our typeface and setting descriptive words is so we can get a look at different letter combinations. And the reason we do that is because we're looking for problems. quite often you'll find issues in the lowercase letters, specifically letters, and this is just an example, letters with descenders. Depending on how the descenders sit, how wide they are, how low they are, how wide they make the letter, quite often it could be problematic in letter combinations that also have descenders. Now, G, J isn't a very typical letter combination at all. However, if you were to take that G and set the J right next to the G, you'll see that you can't tighten the kerning only to a specific point, because eventually that descender of the J is going to make contact with that area of the G, precluding you from closing the kerning any more than when that contact is initially made. That could potentially be an issue. Those are the things you want to look for moving forward. Now, I've been doing this since the first development in week 3, where I've really gotten in here and taken a good close look at things, anticipating issues in letter combinations that will show themselves later on. That's what you want to do. You want to just continue along that vein, because you want to find mistakes now as opposed to later when you're typesetting with your typeface. Do you see what I'm saying? It's going to be a lot easier to find those potential issues now. For that reason, I want you to just get in here and get your zoom tool, get on top of these letters. I mean, really right on top of them, and take a look at them and start looking at letter combinations and look at things that could be considered to be problems. For example, I see this K has these overlaps, and it's really the only letter form that does to that extent. I think that's a little drastic. I would reduce that a little bit, both in the upper and lowercase K, because we don't, I mean, if we go out to full zoom, you can see that you've definitely got those overlaps there, but to a much, 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 much lesser degree in the other letter forms. So I think that's a little overdone right there. I'm okay with the overlaps. We find that in natural handwriting or printing, right? So that's okay. But just as a matter of consistency, I think these are just a little bit overdone right there. All right. So I'm loving what I'm seeing here, most definitely. So at this point, yeah, just get on top of there and right on top of each letter form, also your lowercase character set, your numeric character set, your punctuation, and really get in there and take a look very, very closely for inconsistencies and address those moving forward. All right, great job. Thank you very much.